How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. So here we are with another episode of Headcase. So I'm really excited about this one because this one is with a good buddy of mine who I've traveled the road, been on stage with him, and he is an amazing colorist. And besides me just telling you that he's an amazing colorist, he actually has the title of Master Colorist. He's an award-winning global hair color educator, celebrity colorist. He is the creative color ambassador for Keune. It's my good buddy, George Alderete. So let's get into this week's Headcase. George Alderete, I tell you, when my team finally told me that we got you nailed down to do the program, I was super excited. And for those of you that are listening and viewing right now, you heard in the intro that we did, you heard about all his accolades and everything. But even more importantly, we've been friends and we've worked together at various times. And George, I'm just super excited to have you here, buddy.
Chris, let me tell you, it's an honor to be here with you because we have shared so many wonderful experiences throughout the years. And even now at a distance, I still see all the beautiful accolades that you're receiving. And my hat's off to you, my friend, for continuing just allowing yourself to be creative for everybody else to enjoy it. So I just want to thank you for that because you have been an inspiration to me for many, many years. Say that again.
Yeah. So listen, I want to just bring you back to it. And it's probably not the first time we met because I think we knew each other somewhat beforehand. But there was a particular incident when you were on stage assisting to someone, and after that was over with, you and I had a little bit of a conversation about that. First of all, do you remember it? And then secondly, do you remember that in the conversation that was had?
I absolutely remember it because it was life-changing. It was one of those moments in my career and life where you just provoked a thought and an interest of something and a goal for me to achieve in that moment. And we were at a hair show, and I believe it was Hair World in DC. And I was up there, and I remember you telling me that, and you turned around and you said to me, we were on the way back to the hotel in a minivan. There was a bunch of us, a group of us, and I had just met all of you. And that's when the conversation came up to really look at joining to be a part of the team at Redken.
Yeah.
Because I was assisting another gentleman who was a part of that. So that was an opportunity for me to take. And then everybody in the car, because it was Brian and Sandra Smith, it was David Stanko, and it was Ann Mincy and yourself. And they kind of just started egging me on, and I thought about it. And that's when I got ready and auditioned for Redken.
Yeah, because
that changed my whole career.
Awesome. Well, and the main reason why I'm bringing that up for the listener is that sometimes you can see people, and the whole point was, George, we saw you on stage, and quite frankly, literally, even though you never talked, you really took over the stage. I mean, not from trying to upstage, but your work was so beautiful. Because they would do something, would pass it over to you, and your work was amazing. So that's kind of what prompted that. I remember that we said to you, like, "What are you doing assisting? You should be doing this all by yourself." And it was, exactly. and I am so happy to see. And that was more. Let's put it to the audience. That was more than 2 years ago. Would you agree?
Just a couple. Yeah. It was a little ways back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, just for anybody that doesn't know you, and I don't know why that would happen, but I want you to rewind. Let's rewind a little bit, and I want to take you back to really what sparked the journey in your career. just before I do, I find there's always, like in our industry, there's two kinds of people. There's the people that have, they just wanted to be a hairdresser the whole life. Everything that they did was based around, the dogs got trims, the cats got their eyelashes done, they colored everybody in the neighborhood, etc. And then that's the first type, and they just know they're going to be a hairdresser. And then there's the second part. I was a part of that group too. You just kind of fell into the business. So, like, where were you in there? What, number one is, was that you? Were you part of which group? And then what
I
kind of
was part of the
stuff?
latter. I was number two. I would definitely say I was roaming to find out what I wanted to do in my life, and I had no idea. So I was working for my father in construction, and I moved out of the home. And first time moving out, and I lived with a female hairdresser, and she was a makeup artist / hairdresser. So that kind of gave me a little bit of a interest. And then one night she came in and said, "There's a big Christmas party at the salon. Why don't you come and join me?" And I said, "Okay." So she helped me pick out an outfit and got dressed, went to this party, and I just was enamored by everybody. The people were so cool, the conversations, the way they looked. Everybody just had this mystique about them. And I was talking to them, and I left the building, and the next morning I was on the construction site with my father. He caught me daydreaming, and he whistled at me, and he said, "Hey, what's up?" And I turned to him, and I said, "I want to be a hairdresser."
I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. And he just was like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, here's the best part of the whole entire evening. It was the Sebastian Salon in Encino. So it was Jerry Cosenza, John Sebastian.
Wow.
And those were the people that I had met that night. I had no idea at all anything about the industry. And, of course, later on, Sebastian was the biggest thing, and the hairspray and the whole bit. But that was my first introduction, and that's when I knew I took that jump in. And funny enough, my father was very supportive. He came to my apartment that weekend. He said, "Either you want to keep your sports car, or you got to sell it, and or go to school and move home. Keep your car." So I did.
So which one did you pick?
And I moved home and packed that car so quickly.
Smart move.
And because I got to keep my car, and I got to go to school and live at home. So
I want to stop it there just for a second, because there's people listening on this that may not know the Cosenzas and where they did and the impact that they made on our industry, particularly in the U.S., because that was a time in our era when the Brits and all of Europe, et cetera, were doing certain things, and it took a longer time for it to get here. So can you give us a little insight into the Cosenzas and where?
Sure.
Like, what was that about? What was their story about, and how was that change that they made?
So it was huge. It was a huge impact in our industry. I mean, not only for environmental change, sustainability, before even anyone was talking about that, but just the innovation of the styling products that Jerry was coming up with, and the innovation of the education, and how they wanted to elevate hairdressers and to give them a product and to be proud of what we were doing. We didn't have that same pride that you have, say, in Europe or in London or even Canada. We don't have an apprenticeship where you go up the ranks and you grow up in the industry. This is a vocation here. And so it's really not looked upon as one of the choices that you would go to. But for many of us that have made the choice, have made an amazing life for ourselves. And I would just say that anybody that would like to do this and be a part of our industry, to take that opportunity and do it, because you will not regret it.
Yeah, there's another thing.
He said this really quick. So they created a Shaper hairspray, the best hairspray in the world at that time. They created Fizz, which was the first mousse. So the innovation for them in styling and products was ingenious. Not only that, we got a really good friend, you and I, from that team back in the day, Mr. Casimir. So there's a lot of things that have come through the Sebastian family and their insight, their innovation.
Yeah. I never had the I always say that Jerry Cosenza and I were like this, and those of you listening, I got my two front fingers crossed. This was me, my thumb waving on the side. I never really knew them, but I was so enthralled by them, and here's the reason why. Because while you know, I was not the one that I didn't really know of their products other than a few, which they launched an artist only series. And I thought it was really brave of a company to say, okay, customers, here's products that you can't have. And I thought that was ingenious in number one. Number two was that they lined themselves up with a gentleman out of London that they would go and they would just literally film everything that was going on at Salon International in London. And then they would bring it back, tweak it, and then be able to bring it back to the Americas so that they were really getting that information right then and there. And unless you were going there, you didn't see what was happening first. So they were always first and foremost. And that gentleman was Robert Lobetta. And in my mind, probably one of the top 3 to 5 hairdressers in the world for a creative brain. And
Oh man,
I
he
have
and
to
his
say
wife are
that's what
just,
drew me and pulled me in.
phenomenal. The imagery that he created at that time. There wasn't any Photoshop. There wasn't any of that, and it was just lighting and mystique, and the way he did it was just fantastic. But
Yeah,
he did
and
give our
everything that
industry a
everything that he
beautiful
did.
image.
Yeah, everything that he did was, if they did a sculpt on the head, he would measure the head and make sure that every triangle would fit perfectly. It was just, this guy's mind is just
Phenomenal.
totally out
Yeah.
of the world. But now, what I want to go back to is to you a little bit is that George, everywhere that I go, and I've been a fan of your work, always it's easy to be fans of friends. But even if I wasn't your friend, I would be a big fan simply because, and here's the way, I mean, I'm sure that you could probably define your work as one thing, but here's how I define it. Because when I think that it is one of the hardest things to do is to combine beauty, commerciality, and be able to push the envelope and go just a little bit beyond that to make it fresh. And you, my friend, do that because it's really difficult to be able to do that, push the envelope, etc. So, but tell me, where does some of that stuff come from? Where do you get your inspiration from? How do you develop what's that? Like when you sit down and you're doing something for a shoot or just something that you want to do for a photograph or just on a head of hair, how do you push yourself? Where does that inspiration come from? What's the process?
The most important thing is it's got to be beautiful. I really think that when you have a beautiful person in front of you, that's the object of the desire that you want to create around. So it's number one thing is always the person that you're choosing for the photo and the work. Does it suit that work? And then my inspiration comes from the palette, creating the color palette. How's it going to look? What's the collection? And I like to take all sorts of swatches and I put them all out and I start creating palettes. I start pulling swatches from the paint store and I start putting stories together to create a vision board because you can see shading and variation and gradient on that wall better than you can in a swatch book. So it allows me to see a secondary tone, a tertiary tone, a tone that I could create, and that's what sparks my interest, and that's what starts to make me get out of the day-to-day norm of formulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I love that. That's where I begin.
I love that point that you said, and I want to bring that back up again, is that my color is color per se, but what I love the fact that you go to the paint store, when you see all of the pull card, the swatches that they have, or we call them swatches, I don't even know what the cards are called that they use. But I find that's brilliant because then you can lay them all out, just like as if you were decorating a room. I think that's really brilliant. Now, I heard you say something in there that you have to put this stuff together in a collection. I'm sure, I know that you do many collections that you're doing for Keune, and I think that, what can you tell us? What happens in your process for those people that are out there that have really never done a collection together, or they're saying, look, it seems so unattainable what George does, and when he puts these collections together, and he's got to work with possibly the corporate as an end game. What's some of the, if you could give us just a few steps, like what would the advice that you would give somebody if you were going to put a collection together and you wanted to shoot it, even if it was on a low budget, even if it's, just getting a friend next door to do it, what would you tell that person? Like, how would you start? If you had to go back and tell George the first time around, the George that never did a photo shoot before, and you were going to go back and speak to that George and talk about what does that George not know right now that you could give him that would make all the difference in the world?
Cool. For me, it's going to be the team. It's picking the right people around you, first off, and giving and collecting and do your homework. So if you have something, a vision that you want to create, and you want to communicate that to your group, sometimes words don't work. So have storyboards, have visuals, have as much that they can intake to see where you want to go and what you want to do. And then be open to their suggestion. Because there's times when we are so close against what we're doing that it's an outside set of eyes that might see something we don't. And so I always ask to be open. What it's doing for me too is always allowing them to know that I'm open and it's a safe area for them to be creative and that their input is important. It's not just my vision, it's ours. That's why the team thing is important. It's you can't do it without a team, period.
Yeah.
If the hours of preparation that it takes, if you have a really good team, won't seem like hours. Won't seem like weeks, and then won't seem like months, because that's honestly what will happen. But what I would tell myself is the team, make sure you have as many visuals as you can so that you can communicate that to them, and then start resourcing. So if you don't have a budget, find somebody that likes to do clothes. Find somebody that loves to do makeup. That's really good. And remember, you're all kind of testing and doing this for the first time. So that would be the way I would go. And then I would research what you like. Go onto the platforms, go onto Insta, social, go onto other platforms where, say, Hairdresser's Journal in UK, and start looking at what other people doing and see the interest in the lighting. What's going on with that? How are they posing? And just you start to learn what you like, and if you storyboard it, you'll start to see it come together on the board. And that's how I started.
I think it's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. I find that there's one thing I think that I really want to expand on a little bit is what I love that you said was about working with a team, getting all of your images together, and then having a conversation with it. And I think that give you for instance, that I find that it's great to have a theme, but I find that don't go so first degree with your theme that people, that somebody on the other end doesn't know what it is, because they're not going to know what it is anyway. I'll give you for instance, like if somebody says, I want to have, our theme is wild horses in the wind. And so you're picking up manes and you're talking about, look about the way that moves and the colors that are in there. No matter what you do on a human being, when you're done with it, no matter how close you come, nobody's going to look at it and say, oh, that was wild horses in the wind. But it gives the team a theme to run by and gives you creative ideas that you can pull on to make your end goal. So all of these things work so well. That's what I love that you said.
Thank you. It's getting that momentum going, and it's feeding off of one another. That banter back and forth, and sometimes you step on each other a little bit, but then you get something out of that banter. So, but it's also important just to sit back and listen. So sometimes I'll sit back and I'll let them, and I'll drop a couple of words out that I hear of it, and so just tell me a little bit about that, where you're going with that, because I want to know. And that's important.
Yeah, and with this, and I want to emphasize this with everybody, because and I wanted you to think about this. That if you're
Okay.
listening or viewing or wherever you're at with this right now, is George is Keune's creative color ambassador, and I want you to think about the operative word in there, because for me, the operative word in there is creative. And that's sometimes, if you're put into a project, that word creative often really puts a lot of pressure on you. So let me ask you this: when with that title, and when people come to you and say, "I want a creative collection, we're going to do this, and it could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in there." There's a lot of pressure on you, George. When you agree, and how do you deal with that? Like, what's it like? How do you deal with it so you can get back to the basics and just be creative?
Ooh, you're right. It is a big pressure, because the people that put the most pressure on yourselves is
Mm.
ourself. So that's always the first and foremost. I feel there's always an elephant on my chest, if you will, sometimes, because I feel that pressure. But that's me.
Right.
So what I need to do is just get all my ducks in a row. I have everything that I can. I take all the notes that I can from everything that they have asked me to do, and then I put it down and say, this is possible. I can do this. The team can do this. This we need to revisit, and start to really have a conversation with what we can achieve, what is achievable, with the resources that we have. And once you start to do that, it's just funny that you mentioned this, Chris, because in the last week we have a global gala coming up, and we have guest artists from other countries coming in. So everything's corresponding via computer,
Right.
and the pressure's on. But the pressure was off of me once I completed my tasks, and I knew everything was in before deadline, and it was complete. And I felt like the pressure won't happen until the next call, but at least it eases it up. So what I would say is, don't ever procrastinate. Procrastination is your biggest enemy.
Mhm.
I know. I will tell you that, because I have procrastinated, and it's not good for you. And just get on it. If you have that notion in that moment that you don't want to do it, it's the time to do it.
Yeah, it's
So
usually the fear of something that holds us back on there, right?
it is always fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the pressure is always going to be there, but if you feel like you have everything organized, and no matter if you do, something is always going to change. So just be prepared.
Yeah,
That's the other
I
thing
have an
too.
opinion. I have an opinion of you, and I want you to no, and it's all good. But I want you to
Okay.
verify that it is or is not correct, because I feel this may be why they always work so well for you. But I view you, from what I know you as, how I've seen you, what I've been around with you, that you are a collaborator. You enjoy collaboration. Am I correct in that?
Yes. Yes, I
What
am.
is it about the
And
collaborative process?
the only way I can put it. Okay. So at a young age, through middle school and high school, I was in a band. So I played an
Mm.
instrument. And I know we had never competed and done anything like that, but we really were studying for this competition and doing it in orchestras, a symphony. And I had to switch from trumpet to French horn. And it was difficult. The whole process was hard. The whole journey was difficult, but it was creative at the same time. But here's the deal: when you hear the music come out as one beautiful symphony,
Mm.
and all those people as one orchestra created that one sound, there's nothing more beautiful. And so that has instilled in me that it's best to have a collaborative team around you.
Right.
That sound is going to be so much more beautiful than doing a solo act. That's just me.
I love it. I love it. And it's only because I bear some similarities to your job, etc. But I think that the thing that I would um, want the listener to get, if you ever get into a position where you're tasked to do a project, a collection, versus the one that I do solely for me.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if you're going to work for a manufacturer and there's a marketing team that's involved, and versus I want to do, because you're, as we said at the very beginning, you're a 5-time, you've been you're NAHA winner, you've been finalist 5 times, numerous other awards, but those are collections you do for you, correct? So what do you
Yes.
find that the difference is between being the creative director when you do it yourself for your work versus being the humble hairdresser when you're doing it for a manufacturer? What's the difference?
Organization right off the bat. Make sure that you're packed to the gills, that you have everything ready to go just in case something happens, and that you're always having to think one step ahead. You're always having to make sure that everybody's got a copy of everything. Everything's written. I have it, vision boards, flip charts, anything that anybody in that group that has a question, all they have to do is look up, and there's the answer is in the room, right? But it's going through all of that process with everybody and making sure that this is, so it's just being organized. And that was a skill that, because I am dyslexic. If I don't have organization, a flip chart, a cue on my tray, something that cues me to the next move that keeps me going, I could easily lose track. So I have to organize myself. So in doing that for me, now later on, many years later, I have to do that for a company, and it's easier for me to do once I understand how organized it is and get it all out there.
Yeah.
And just make sure.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of release a little bit of like owning it too, because you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's what you just talked about there really brought me back. I remember doing a corporate shoot with a group of hairdressers who did their own shoots, and I remember one person in particular when the marketing team came up to them and said, "Hey, can you change that?" And this person said, "That's my vision. That's my vision. That's what I created." And that's where the lights went off in my brain that look, at you might be the creative director on your own, but you're the hairdresser they hired. No matter how famous you are, you're the hairdresser that they hired to do it. So if they say change, then you have to change. Because I know I did the very first time. I remember being out there. We made these amazing wigs that we put on because we had to, because the models wouldn't let us cut the hair. And so we did it. And we made this one wig. We had the shoot, and they said, "Well, we want a second. Can you do it?" And then and I just said no. I got all pouty, and I went outside. And I was going to quit, and how dare you challenge my creativity? And when it was just probably my own insecurity in my brain, whatever that was. But I remember we just went back inside. We said, "What are we going to do?" And we just turned the wig. We turned it backwards, so the front was the back, and the back was the front, and it had all this hair standing up. And they went, "We love it." And so all you have to do is just say, "Look, even if I have to say no problem and try anything," because they'll just turn around. Once you hit something that they like, they'll just say they love it, and then you're their friend forever. Battle it,
exactly.
They won't use it again. Yeah.
Yep. So, and it can be a pressure, and you have to change. Everything can change in a moment. I've experienced that, believe me.
And do it quick, because everything costs money, right?
Yeah. And take no more time.
I just want to switch gears just a little bit in here right now, because I know you've done tons of shows, tons of events. There's things out that are out there that, I can only speak for myself, but I've done some shows that I went, okay, that was all right. And I've done shows where I call it that if I wanted to go out now, this would be the show that I'd want to be remembered for. And I could just say, okay, I'm done. I just did it. This was one of the best. Sometimes some people have two, they have more, might only have one, they might have more than one. What were the ones what's the standout ones for you? The one that if you said, okay, finished this show, now I could hang it up after this one. This one was just spectacular. What was that?
Oh, gosh. I've had so many good opportunities and experiences. My challenge was this last one, this big show that I did, our 100-year celebration, because our main creative director came ill, and we had a task. So I was really, really hoping on her direction for this task that we were tasked with, for her and I. But it fell onto my lap, and so the pressure was on, and I was just lucky that I was there for the amount of time, because it took me 5 days with the team to build these coats that I had never done. I've colored many OFs, but I just remember the direction that she had given me. She told me she wanted this kind of how to crimp it, what to use product-wise, how to set it, do all of that. So just you talking on the phone and FaceTime here, I was like, is this the right? Yes, yes, yes. And then I just needed to lend myself to it and say, I don't like the color. This is what I want to change. I'm going to put the palette here. She's like, go for it. And then it just started to feel more comfortable.
Right.
But it's that would probably be the one that I could send out and I can say, I'm so happy with everything. I accomplished all my tasks. It was an evening to remember. It was a week to remember. It's 2 weeks to remember. So yes, I think that would be it.
What did it feel like in the middle of it? What did it feel like in the middle of that journey? Because I'm sensing that all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm in charge of this. Then now I've got to do it, and there's the stress that goes along with that, and then maybe the doubt. Maybe what's the emotions that you went through in the middle of that process?
It's nerve-wracking. Just making sure to be prepared. So if I could stay the latest, I would stay longer, just to make sure that I was on task, get there earlier than anyone else. And I was just there making sure I was like preparing everything and having an answer if somebody asked it. So because I knew if I had a question, somebody was going to have a question about something, and I needed to make sure that I had the right answer so that I give them good direction. So it was it was a lot. It was exhaustion because of time, being in a different country. It was excitement. It was at the end of each day really exuberant and just so tired, but so happy tired.
Right. And
like I get choked up thinking about that week.
George, anyone that I think that's been on stage and done multiple shows, some that you have is, all right, that one I'll just as soon forget about that one. But you always have those ones that you go, oh my God, if I could have only gone out on that one. I mean, I'm not talking about your earthly body leaving us, but I'm talking about, wow, if I wanted to hang up right there because that was a killer presentation and I feel so good about it. Just tell, what was that show? And some people have more than one. So if you got more than one, great. But what's the one that really hits your brain right now? Which show was that?
There's a lot of them, but the one that does stand out for me right now, which is the most recent, which was Keune's 100-year celebration. So I was there, and I was tasked with color along with the team and our artistic director, Ilham Minster. So she had, all the tasks going on. We have everything ready and set. We had ours going on. She goes, I'll tell you about it later on tomorrow. We'll get to that. She's briefing us and telling us and giving us a whole gallery stroll and all that. Well, she's ill. She becomes ill. And so the project is then dropped into my lap. As you can tell by the sigh. And my partner was with me, thank goodness, because he's the one that talked me off the ledge. And he knows me so well, Bill. and and you know as well as I know, it's that comfort of like, well, what do you can do this, you can do it. It's not a problem. You've done this before. How many shows have you done? Blah 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 blah. But in my gut, I'm like freaking out. But the emotions were like a roller coaster. So you get through that. And then you get there, and then you just have to be ready and organized. And I had to make sure that everything was there. FaceTiming Ella, making sure this is the direction, understanding the way she wanted me to set it and style it. Because that was going to be her task. I was the color, she's styling, and then we finished together. Well, that was gone. So then I had to bring up the team to speed and do that. And then it was just getting there earlier than anybody, saying the latest, making sure everything was ready for the next day, each day. And then it was like, I think I lost like 10 or 20 pounds that week. I don't think I ate. I had a lot of caffeine. And it's just, it's almost blank until I look at photos now of that week. It kind of comes back to me. At the end of...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. But
I heard in there, because I just want to reiterate on some of those emotions that they go through, because anybody that's thinking about doing the things that George does, is there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And part of the reason why I want everybody out there to know this stuff that can happen is because when they look, George, when everybody sees you in the audience, as you well know, I'm not telling you anything new, but they look at you, and I know that people see you up there. They go up to you after, and you get off stage, and they go, George, that was so amazing. I want to do what you do. And in your mind, I'll bet you're thinking, yeah, right. Just wait till you see what I have to do, right? So my point is this, is that while that's going on, I heard that you were talking about, the stress that happened, the exhaustion from working on and on and on. And, there might have been self-doubt. There might have been those other things that are going on, but the show was phenomenal, right? What I want to know is like when people know about, when you want one of those ones, you go, oh my God, if I could hang it up now, this is the perfect time. I want you to take you back to that moment. Okay, good. You went through the rigor. The show is going on. Everything's coming out well. You're starting to feel better. But now the show's over. You're in the back room. The whole team is together. You're getting together to look at the work that you did and what you finished at. I want to take us to that point where, what did you feel like there? What was it? What was going through your brain when you and the team got the end of together after all of that stress and that exhaustion?
It was very emotional because these were people I had never worked with or led. So they had to trust me on that one. So at the end of everything and getting together and really discussing and debriefing everything and having that conversation, tears, I would say tears of relief, of accomplishment, but that we weren't alone, that we were all in it together, and it was a wonderful experience that will always hold near and dear to our hearts. And I'm like, I can remember the Italian guy that didn't speak English, that I wanted him to cut it a certain way, and trying to describe that to him, and him like looking at me and telling me, I'm like, that's it. Or looking at the girl that doesn't speak any English, and I'm like, I need you to know a little bit more this way, and visually teach her and help her through that. It's exuberant. It's just one of the best feelings I think anybody can get. It's just a sense of accomplishment. And it was a blur. It was a blur, but it wasn't once I started looking at all the photos of the daily, of what's going on, because we're posting and getting everything ready and doing that. And then just the people's appreciation for our team, is inspiring them to go home and to feel good because of the choice that they made to be a hairdresser. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
And those are the things
I hear it in your voice.
And that's what I wanted the team to know. It's like, look at what you did. Look at that up there, and look at these people. you guys, we did this. That's cool.
Yeah. That my teachers have always told me that look at the way that the world rewards you when you come up with something very difficult that you have to do, and you get through it. It rewards you with an even bigger problem. So you had this problem that was thrown in your lap, and you had to go through all of the stress, et cetera, that got you there. But the reason why I want to bring this up to everybody is number one, that of what it's like being in your kind of position. But number two is, if you relate that back to the salon, or you relate that back to just everybody's life, is we always get stuff thrown at us. But if you back away and you don't do it, you get stuck there forever. And your brain will never let you go past that point. And so I just want to say congratulations, because I know you've always knuckled down when the pressure was put on you, and you always did a really super good job. So I just want to say congratulations on that. And I know that if we had much more time, you could tell us about all the other ones as well. So congrats on that, my friend.
Thank you very much, Chris. But back to what you said about the salon, it's the same kind of situation. You're 15 deep. I've been in beautiful, busy. I had salons of busy. I worked in a beautiful salon that was very busy like that. Salon massage. And so you're 15 deep. And so you are thinking on a dime, you're moving, you're good. And the pressure is, am I good enough? Will she love it? She dislike it? And so it kind of conjures up all those same emotions and feelings, just a whole different level.
Yeah. And to remember, you've always got to get past, you've got to get through it. Is that problems happen in life? Problems happen at the salon. Problems happen when you're on stage. But when you learn how to deal with it, you're a bigger, better person that the world needs you even more. So I think that's always the thing that I think about, what pushes you to get you through that problem. Now, I just want to take you back, because we're always talking about, this happened really well, and the photo shoots we do, et cetera. But I don't think that people that are out there really get that. Sometimes the stuff that goes on in our life, it's what are some of the things that we've gone through some of this stuff, but we've all been through high points, low points in our life, in our career. What were some of the most challenging moments for you as George Alderete was working his way through, as you had to do things, or there was a learning lesson or something that happened to you? Was there a challenging moment in your career that really hit you with that one?
Oh, wow. I'm my worst enemy. That's just it. I'm going to be the one that says I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I have a lot of insecurity that way. Always have. Because I always want to be better at what I'm doing. I don't want to lose it, but at the same time, I don't want to relish in it either. I just want to know that it's always there. And how do I get past it? And you don't get past it until you do it and until you practice. If you believe that your vision is going to happen on the first try, think again. Because you have to practice and practice and practice, and then execute it, and then you probably have to practice again. And if I looked at the benchmarks that I have right now, and one's in the kitchen just for preparation for the weekends in this class, it's crazy. They're all everywhere. But I look at everything and what needs to be tweaked, or what direction it was in, or what I didn't like, and because those are experiences that I'll be able to share with them in class. So it would have to be my insecurities, that fear, and that drive. And it was, for me, auditioning. I never had done anything. I was fortunate enough to have a person that was my partner, because it was twos, and she was my partner. So she assisted me, and I assisted her when she auditioned. and that was Miss Beautiful Suzanne Stern.
Oh, yeah.
So we
I know.
auditioned together. Yep. And so anyway, I don't know where I was going with this, but it's just that was a fear, that biggest fear, and I had to practice and get ready for it and put myself in the heat and be ready to ask questions and be prepared.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
got me through it.
Yeah.
And
I know that
ask
sometimes
questions.
yeah. Yeah. I know that
I
sometimes
mean, my
there's
mouth is already getting dry right now just thinking of it.
I always think of where does spit go when when you're on stage or talking to people. But
Usually
listen,
the first person.
so listen, we've been a road warrior. I'm gonna, I guess, just because we were talking about relationships. The most people that are outside of what I call being a road warrior, and if you're just listening, not watching right now, yes, I am doing air quotes. But if you're not from the road warrior world, most people don't understand how taxing it can be on a relationship. And I know you keep talking about your partner who keeps pulling you back in. And sometimes our partners need to do that. They rein us back in. But there's people that are out there that their relationships didn't work simply because of how taxing this is when you're on the road all the time, having to prepare, etc. And I know you've been in, as long as I know you, you've been in the same relationship. But what advice would you give? Like, if anybody is getting to go, is they're thinking about taking this life on? They know they've got a gift to give. They're going out to, I want to join a group, a manufacturer, a thing, something that they could do where they could expand themselves, teach the world, and help to make it a better life. What would you, for a relationship, what would any advice that you could give? It might have been, I can only amount to the amount of mistakes that I've made in my relationship that I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
But is there somebody that was thinking about this? What advice would you give them when it came to their relationship with their partner?
To have the understanding of time with them. Understand that amount of time, that when you're with it, make it really valuable. Because if you are a road warrior and you might be home just a couple of days, turn that suitcase around, and then out you go again.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting there with a smile, probably helping you pack, making sure you have everything. Probably one step ahead of you, and you're packing before you're doing it. When you get there, that's my partner. So you have to have somebody that's there and be open to the time with them. And it's important. And I didn't really understand it as many years as I've been doing it until COVID.
Right.
Because I was home a lot. And being home a lot made me realize my partner is home alone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's not cool. I need to make the most out of my time. And I need to say no to some things because I have to share my time with my partner and enjoy. Or why am I working so hard? So stop. Make sure that you appreciate that partner, the time that you have with your person that you love. Mm-hmm. And I just happen to have somebody, and I know you do too, that is just always supportive.
Yeah.
Always.
It's interesting,
like,
right?
Okay, you said yes, so when are you going to start? That kind of thing.
I was listening. There was a speaker that I was hearing. I can't remember whether I was watching it or it was on a program. That there was this gentleman and he wrote the book on. I think it's called Alter Ego. I don't remember the gentleman's name or what the author's name of the book was, but in there he talks about
I've heard
that
of it.
you have to have an ego for every place, because everybody always says that you have to be authentic, which means in most people's definition you have to be the same all the time in all situations. But in the book he talks about how you have to have, your authentic self is different if you're talking to your 2-year-old daughter having a cup of tea playing tea party than it is if you're on the road on a stage, and it's different than when you're with your spouse. Who's your authentic self that is in there. And so what's George's authentic self when you're with your partner?
Honesty.
Oh, wow. In one word.
Honesty.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, honest. Yeah. That's, I think, when you accept true honesty with its grit, and you can take it,
Yeah.
because the person that knows you the most is telling you the truth, and it's right there in front of you. You can't do anything but appreciate it, because you're not going to go down the wrong path. You're just not, because it's going to make you stop, think about it, and you're like, you're right. You do know me. So, yeah.
I love it.
Honesty.
So listen, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a one-liner. It's a fill in the blank. It's in the fill in the blank question.
Good one.
Okay. George Alderete is.
I want to say kind.
Oh. Give me more.
I'm a kind man. If I say that I'm going to help you, I will follow through and help you. Knowing that you want to help yourself. If I say that I'm here and you need something from me, and if I can do something, or if I can connect you, I don't have a condition. I just don't. I just love to take one person and see them go to somebody else and see something happen. And I could just step away. I'm happy with that. I love that. So I like to be kind, and I like to smile and be happy around people, and to just bring the best out of them by being kind. Yeah, because everything else is just there. I mean, what my expertise is, what I've done, accomplishments, stuff. But just to sit there and say, "How are you today?" I'm good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's a pretty good day today. Even though we consider it small talk, it's important to follow through on that. So there's those little things, for me.
I love that.
So
and that's
kind.
what I remember you as that, as kind. I'm going to write that down. When I send you cards from here on in, it's going to be kind George.
Kind George. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I want to deal with just a little bit and jump into, you've been on stage now for like how many years? If you had to put it down, how many years have you been from the time you stepped on stage till now? How many years has that been? Approximately.
Let's see, 30-something years.
30-something years. Wow. So I want to tie this into kind of our strap line for.
So this isn't an overnight, just so that you know.
Sorry?
It's not an overnight.
Oh, no, not an overnight. But our strap line is making education so badass that you want to learn. And what form of badassery do you employ to keep your audiences engaged when you're on stage?
Can I cuss? I'm honest with them in the color. I don't give them the marketing story. I tell them how color works and why it works, and what's happening with what they're doing and why they're doing it, and that's what happened. And yes, that color didn't work because it's not a good color. It's just because it was not used in the way it should have been used. Or I'm just honest. There's no bullshit when I'm up there. And the reason I know that this is going to work is because I do it. This is for real. This is what I live. This is what I'm going to teach. So I know that I can tell you without a doubt when you walk out of the room with me that you are going to take something valuable back to your salon and to your everyday piece of work, because that was given to me. So now I'm just going to give it to you.
I love it. So I want to leave you with one last thing here is that.
This is great.
I love the motto that we have is, I mean, we've kind of built everything on this is that successful people in our brains, in our words, which is probably a lot less eloquent than most people writing books. But we've when as much research as we've looked in, we've always said that successful people use what we call the Goya method. GOYA, the acronym for, as we like to put it in, how would you say it? PC terms. You have to get off your assets, right? And we always put $2 in the assets.
Yes, I saw that.
And the reason why what the meaning behind what we say on that is that if it's easy to sit there and just let the world go by you and have and do and be everything you want to do, but you're not. So, is if you want to be, do, or have something, is that if you want to get it, whatever that it is that you want, you have to get off your assets and do something, and you got to go get it. So, what would you tell the people watching and the listeners that we have going on that they need to get off of to get their assets going and do? What would you say that is? What do they have to let go of, do, or whatever?
I would suggest to dream their own dream and to follow their own dream and not compare it to anybody else's. I think my success for me personally has been that I never am concerned about anybody else's, what they can do, what they are, who they are, and now they're a part of the team. You just can't. It's not even a part of my DNA. I just don't think about it. I just focus on myself, and when you do that, you just, I don't know, you just take off because you're fully focused and you don't have any other minutia bothering you, and you get that all out of your head and just know who you are.
Yeah.
And know what I'm capable of doing, and not wanting to take, oh, now I want to be that, or oh, I want to say it like that. No, this is what I do, and
So
be proud of that.
I want to pause you there for just a second, because sometimes I think people get confused between, I know you and I know that your dreams, you are a doer, you've done it, you've proven it. But so many people out there think, okay, I'm going to dream it. And the dreams are hard to buy stuff with. Dreams are how to get things moving on. Once George has that dream, and if they have that dream, George, what would you tell them? What's the one or two things that they would need to do in order to get it, as opposed to just dream about it?
Find someone that's doing it, contact them. Go to the sources. Start going to where you have interests. Show up to the opening of an envelope. I say that all the time. It doesn't matter. You're always going to connect with someone, and be out there. Just be present in it. You have to, in order for you to get it, whatever it is, you have to go out and find it. You have to go out and research it. You have to be around it. It's like that. It's like what they say. You're around those that you like because you want to model yourself. It's the truth. I've only been around, I'm sorry, but some of the best in the world, you included. And because of your generosity and their generosity, we happened to find each other because we showed up. And here we are years later.
Yeah.
So,
you piqued my curiosity. I want you to just give us a little more on that. When you said, I love the line, I'd love everybody to understand a little bit more about it. You said, show up to the opening of the envelope. I think what a great saying, but give us a little more on that. What does that mean to you?
Okay. So for me, it didn't, everybody wants to go to the red carpet. Everybody wants to go to the big deal. Everybody wants to go to where the lights are flashing and all this stuff. And sometimes there's something around the corner happening in this little corner back there where some people are just hanging out having a conversation. Sometimes that's more interesting, and I want to see what they're doing. And that's my curiosity. That's just me. So Keep that. Always don't go to anything. It doesn't matter if it's the big deal with the big invitation. It doesn't matter. It could be just people put out a post and said, hey, we're going to gather and have coffee and just have a chat about, whatever. Go for it. Do it. Don't fear it. Just do it and show up. You never know. Let me give you a great example. I needed some help on a photo shoot a few months ago. And the clothing stylist had a friend that could help me. He showed up. No questions asked. Said, what do you need me to do? I gave him my tasks. Here they are. He accomplished it. He said, thank you. Anything else you need? I said, no, but don't leave, let's exchange our number. We got our contacts and all that. I have no idea that this gentleman does hair in Dubai and famous, all the housewives and all. He never even brought it up, but he was there assisting me.
Wow.
And that humility, that taught me that that's how I want to be.
Yeah. No. I love it.
Because he was just there doing his work, his craft. And if he could help somebody out, he could. And he did.
Just be there for the opening of the envelope.
And he's now teaching me how to create wigs and build wigs.
Oh. We've all got
That's
together
the whole
on that
point.
one. Because
you
I love that.
You never know. See, that's what I'm saying.
You just saw that. You just saw the energy go up in my brain there because when you talk about wigs and just for people that are going, we're not talking about just the classic wigs that you do that Graham wears when she starts to lose her hair. We're talking about how do you make them that look real and or avant-garde or whatever. That really turns my crank. George, I just want to say I'm so excited that you've been here. And, it's funny. You always say when you haven't been around for forever, because the last time I think I saw you was when we did that gig together for Beauty Changes Lives. And that was probably
that was great.
8 months ago, whatever. But I always find that the moment that you're together, it's always just the same as if the moment that you just walked away from one another the last time. So I've always admired you, my friend. You're always top shelf in my book. And I just want to say thank you. I can't thank you enough for accepting this out of you, particularly with your busy schedule. But I am super excited to have you. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart and for all the people that are watching and listening, I just want to say thank you.
Chris, thank you so much. You know how much you've meant to me, and I've told you that many times. But more importantly, for anybody that is going to be watching, if they have not received any coaching from Mr. Coach Baran himself, this would be an opportunity for them to connect with you, because let me tell you, it's been some of the best coaching I've ever had. And not only just in my career life, but in my personal life as well. So to be personally grounded, you have really helped me to do that. And
thank you, my friend. And listen,
your mentoring has always been
I want to make sure that this is about you at the end. So, George, you're a blessing to our industry, and thank you very much. And to everybody that's out there, thank you guys one more time. And just remember, that you need to just get off of your assets and do something. And I promise you it'll all come to you. So thank you, everybody. And in the meantime,
thank you.
We'll see you on the next gig.